The prison planet. Earth was no ordinary planet. In the eyes of the Galactic Council, it was a death world, a term reserved for places so dangerous that survival was nearly impossible. Earth's violent storms, scorching deserts, freezing poles, and endless predators were enough to make even the bravest alien species shudder. Yet, against all odds, a species not only survived there but thrived. Humans. For centuries, Earth had been classified as uninhabitable by the Galactic Council. Official records described it as an experimental zone, but most species didn't even know it existed. The Council made sure of that. Earth's location was hidden, its inhabitants ignored. After all, no intelligent life could possibly emerge from such a harsh environment. Or so they thought. High above Earth, a small scout ship floated silently in orbit. Its captain, Krelix, belonged to the Vextral species, renowned for their insatiable curiosity. Krelix was not supposed to be there. The Council had forbidden any ships from approaching the Death World. But rumors had reached his ears, whispers of activity on the surface, energy spikes, radio signals, movement. What could be down there? Krelix muttered, his dark eyes fixed on the blue and green planet below. His crew was silent, uneasy. They had heard the stories about Earth. No one who ventured too close ever returned. Suddenly, a warning signal blared across the ship's controls. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy surge," one of the crew shouted. Krelix's heart raced. He activated the ship's sensors, and the screen lit up with data. There, on the planet's surface, was a structure, a massive metallic object. It gleamed in the sunlight, its design unlike anything Krelix had ever seen. "What is that?" Krelix whispered, leaning closer. "It's a ship," the crew member replied, their voice trembling. A ship. On Earth. That was impossible. The Council had declared that humans were primitive, barely capable of creating fire, let alone advanced technology. Yet here it was. Proof that humans were not only alive but preparing to leave their cursed planet. Krelix felt a chill run down his spine. "Record everything," he ordered. "We must inform the Council immediately." Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, Maya Carter stood on a rocky hill, her gaze fixed on the massive ship her people had spent decades building. It was a symbol of hope, a lifeline for humanity. For too long, they had struggled against Earth's brutal environment. Now, they were ready to escape. Maya was one of the lead engineers of the project, and she knew every bolt, wire, and panel of the ship. It was their greatest achievement, a testament to humanity's resilience. But it wasn't just a means of escape. It was a message to the galaxy. Humans would not be caged. "Alina, what's the status on the reactor?" Maya called out to her second-in-command. Alina's voice crackled through the radio. "Reactor is stable. We're running final tests. But everything looks good." Maya nodded. "Good. We don't have much time. The Council will notice us soon, if they haven't already." As she spoke, a group of workers rushed past, carrying supplies. The air buzzed with urgency. Everyone knew what was at stake. If the Council found them before they launched, it would all be over. Back on the scout ship, Krelix was frantic. The more data they collected, the clearer the threat became. The humans were building a ship capable of interstellar travel, something only advanced species could achieve. "We must warn the Council," Krelix said. "If humans escape, they could bring chaos to the galaxy." One of his crew hesitated. "Captain, what if they're not hostile? What if they're just trying to survive?" Krelix shook his head. "Surviving on a death world makes them dangerous. Imagine what they could do in the wider galaxy." As Krelix prepared to send a transmission, the ship's alarms blared again. This time, the energy surge was even stronger. The human ship was powering up. "They're preparing to launch," Krelix exclaimed. On Earth, Maya's heart pounded as she watched the final preparations. The ship's engines roared to life, sending tremors through the ground. It was a sound that filled her with both fear and determination. Everyone, to your stations," she ordered. "This is it. We're leaving." But as the countdown began, a shadow appeared in the sky. Maya squinted, her stomach sinking. High above, she saw the scout ship, its metallic hull reflecting the sunlight. "They found us," she muttered. The realization hit her like a punch. The Council wouldn't let them escape. They would send everything they had to stop humanity. "Activate the defenses," Maya said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "If they want to fight, we'll give them one." The scout ship hovered closer, its weapons systems charging. On board, Krillix felt a pang of regret. He didn't want to attack, but the Council's laws were clear. No one escaped a death world. "Target their engines," he commanded. As the first shots fired, the human ship's defenses roared to life. Missiles streaked through the air, and laser turrets lit up the sky. The battle had begun. The galactic cover-up. Far across the galaxy, in a sprawling chamber made of shimmering crystal and metal, the Galactic Council convened. The Council was the governing body of the galaxy, composed of representatives from its most advanced civilizations. Today's emergency meeting, however, was unlike any before. "The humans are preparing to escape Earth," announced Grand Arbiter Zultron, his voice calm but laced with tension. "Our long-standing containment measures have failed." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Many council members had only heard whispers of Earth, a planet intentionally kept out of galactic maps and discussions. To hear that its inhabitants were not only alive but building a ship was unthinkable. "How is this possible?" demanded Velk, a representative of the sleek and logical Xenar species. The humans were primitive, barely capable of using tools. Their planet was supposed to destroy them. Zultron raised a hand to quiet the room. "It seems we underestimated their resilience. Earth's extreme environment has shaped them into survivors, far more adaptable and resourceful than we anticipated." In the shadows of the chamber, one council member sat silently, their face obscured by a heavy hood. They listened intently as the debate grew heated. Some members called for immediate military intervention, while others argued that revealing Earth's existence to the galaxy could cause chaos. "Let them leave," said a member from the aquatic Nelith species. "If they survive out there, we can deal with them then. Earth has already served its purpose." "And what purpose is that?" snapped Velk. "To create a species that could challenge us. We cannot risk it." The hooded figure finally spoke, their voice calm and deliberate. "Earth was never just a death world. It was an experiment, a place to observe evolution under the harshest conditions. What you see now is the result of millennia of unchecked adaptation. The humans are unlike anything we've encountered. If they escape, they will change the balance of power in the galaxy." A stunned silence followed. Most council members had not known the truth about Earth's origins. Meanwhile, on Earth, Maya Carter and her team worked tirelessly to repair the damage caused by the alien scout ship's attack. The escaped ship's outer hull had been scorched, and one of its engines had suffered a critical hit. Despite the setbacks, Maya refused to give up. "Alina, what's the status on the repairs?" she asked, her hands blackened with grease as she welded a damaged panel. "Engine 3 is operational again, but we're running low on materials," Alina replied. "We need at least another 24 hours to stabilize the systems." Maya's heart sank. They didn't have 24 hours. The scout ship's attack had been a warning, and she knew the real threat was yet to come. Back at the council, the debate reached a boiling point. Zultron finally slammed his staff against the floor, commanding silence. "We cannot allow them to escape," he declared. "Deploy a fleet to Earth immediately. The humans must be stopped before they leave their planet." Velk nodded in agreement. "And if they resist, then we ensure their extinction," Zultron replied coldly. The hooded figure leaned forward, their tone cutting through the room like a blade. "Be careful, Arbiter. Destroying the humans might not be as easy as you think. Remember, they've survived the impossible before." On Earth, night fell, and the makeshift base surrounding the escaped ship buzzed with activity. Maya stood on the ship's observation deck, staring at the star-filled sky. Somewhere out there, she knew, a fleet was being assembled to destroy them. "We're running out of time," she muttered. Suddenly, the communication panel crackled to life. It was a transmission from the scout ship, its captain's voice echoing through the speakers. "Humans of Earth, this is Captain Krelix of the Galactic Council's Exploratory Division. Cease your activities immediately, or face annihilation." Maya clenched her fists. She stepped forward and pressed the transmit button. "This is Maya Carter, Chief Engineer of the UNS Exodus. We won't stop. We've lived through Earth's worst storms, fought off its deadliest predators, and survived every challenge this planet has thrown at us. If you think we're going to back down now, you don't know what humans are capable of." The response stunned Krelix. He had expected fear or submission, but instead, he heard defiance. "Captain," one of his crew whispered, "what if they really are unstoppable?" Krelix didn't answer. His ship's sensors lit up again, detecting new activity on the surface. The human ship was powering up once more. The Council's wrath. Above Earth's orbit, the stars shimmered peacefully, a sharp contrast to the chaos brewing below. Maya stood on the bridge of the UNS Exodus, staring at the holographic projection of Earth. Repairs were underway, but the clock was ticking. Every instinct told her they were running out of time. "Elena, status update," Maya called out. Elena's voice came through the comms, steady but tense. "Engines 2 and 3 are stable. Shield systems at 60%. We'll need at least 8 more hours for full operational capacity." 8 hours we don't have," Maya muttered under her breath. Across the galaxy, a massive fleet of warships assembled near the capital of the Galactic Council. The fleet's flagship, the Eminence, was a colossal vessel that dwarfed anything humanity could dream of. Its captain, Threx of the Zinar species, was a hardened warrior known for his ruthless efficiency. Threx stood on the command deck, surveying the gathered ships through the viewport. "Humans," he said, his tone dripping with disdain. "They think they can defy the Council. We'll remind them why we rule this galaxy." Behind him, a communication officer approached. "Captain Threx, the fleet is ready to depart. The Council's orders are clear: neutralize the human ship and ensure Earth remains sealed." Threx nodded. "Set course for Earth. Let's end this experiment once and for all." On board the scout ship orbiting Earth, Captain Krelix was torn. He had sent his warning to the humans, but their defiance had unsettled him. Unlike other species he had encountered, these humans didn't cower or plead. They stood firm, even when faced with annihilation. One of his crew approached him hesitantly. "Captain, the Council fleet is en route. They'll be here within hours. Should we intervene?" Krelix frowned. "Intervene? Against the Council?" "Yes," the crew member replied. "I've been monitoring the humans' communications. They're not invaders. They just want to survive. Is it right to destroy them for that?" Krelix didn't answer immediately. He gazed at the human ship on his monitor, its battered hull a testament to their determination. On the surface, Maya worked tirelessly with her team. Despite the looming threat, they pushed forward with repairs, their hands blistered and their faces streaked with dirt. Every person on the ground knew what was coming. They had seen the scout ship, and they knew it wasn't alone. As the final adjustments to the engines were made, Maya gathered the crew for a brief but urgent meeting. "Listen up," she began, her voice firm. "We all know what's at stake. The Council doesn't want us to leave this planet. They've labeled us as a threat, but we're not going to let them decide our fate. We fought for every inch of progress we've made, and we're not stopping now. This is our chance, our only chance, to escape, and I need every one of you to give it everything you've got." The room was silent for a moment, and then someone started clapping. Soon, the entire crew erupted in cheers. Despite the fear hanging over them, Maya's words had reignited their resolve. Back on the Eminence, Captain Threx reviewed the latest intel from the scout ship. The humans were making progress, and their ship would be ready to launch soon. "Do we have an ETA?" he asked. 4 hours until we reach Earth, Captain, his officer replied. Threx smiled grimly. "Good. Let the humans think they've won. By the time they leave their atmosphere, we'll be waiting for them." As the Council fleet approached, Krillix made a decision that would change everything. He opened a secure channel to the human ship. "This is Captain Krillix of the Galactic Council scout ship," he said. "I'm contacting you off the record. The Council fleet is on its way, and they will show no mercy. If you want to survive, you'll need a strategy." Maya was startled but didn't hesitate. "Why are you helping us?" Krillix hesitated. "Because I've seen what you've accomplished. You're not what the Council says you are. You deserve a chance." Maya's mind raced. An alien captain offering help. It could be a trap, but something in Krillix's tone convinced her otherwise. "What do you suggest?" she asked. "Your ship's shields won't hold against the fleet," Krillix said. "But if you overload your energy core during launch, you could create a temporary EMP blast. It won't stop them, but it might buy you enough time to escape." Maya nodded. "Understood." And Krillix, "Thank you." The final countdown. The UNS Exodus thrummed with energy, its repaired engines roaring back to life. The humans had pushed themselves to the brink, working through exhaustion to prepare their ship for launch. Outside, the makeshift base was a hive of activity, but everyone knew they were running out of time. Maya stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the console displaying the countdown timer. "Elena, are all systems operational?" she asked. "Shields at 80%, engines at full capacity," Elena replied. "We're as ready as we'll ever be." Maya nodded. "Good. Start charging the energy core. If we're going to pull off Krillix's plan, we need to time the EMP perfectly." Above Earth, the Council fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm, dozens of massive warships appearing one by one. The flagship Eminence led the charge, its colossal frame casting a shadow over the planet. On board, Captain Threx surveyed the scene with cold precision. "Status report," he barked. "All ships in position," an officer replied. "We've detected the human vessel on the surface. They're powering up." Threx smirked. "Foolish creatures. They think they can escape us." He turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare the plasma cannons. Target their launch site. We'll crush them before they leave the atmosphere." Back on Earth, Maya's crew was alerted to the fleet's arrival. The base's sensors picked up the signatures of dozens of enemy ships, and a ripple of fear spread through the camp. "Commander Carter," said a young technician, his voice shaking, "the Council fleet is here. They're positioning above us." Maya took a deep breath, steadying herself. "We knew this was coming." Everyone to their stations. "This is what we've been preparing for." Meanwhile, in orbit, Captain Krillix watched the Council fleet with growing unease. His warnings to the humans had gone unreported, but he knew Threx wouldn't hesitate to destroy them. "Sir," one of his crew said hesitantly, "should we signal the fleet?" "No," Krillix replied. "We've done enough damage already. If the humans survive, it will be because of their own strength. We'll stay out of this." But even as he spoke, Krillix felt the weight of his decision. He couldn't shake the feeling that the Council's actions would lead to something far greater than anyone anticipated. Inside the Exodus, the final preparations were underway. Maya paced the bridge, issuing commands and checking the systems. "Elena, how's the energy core?" "It's almost fully charged," Elena said. "But once we release the EMP, we'll have a very short window to escape. If we're still in the blast radius, we'll lose power too." "We'll make it," Maya said firmly. "We have to." As the timer ticked down, the first plasma blast struck the surface near the base, sending up a massive plume of smoke and fire. The shockwave shook the Exodus, and alarms blared throughout the ship. "They've started firing," someone shouted. Maya grabbed the comms. All personnel, evacuate to the ship immediately. This is not a drill. Get to your stations now. Outside, the base was in chaos. Crew members sprinted toward the Exodus, dodging falling debris and secondary explosions. The ground trembled as more plasma bolts rained down, each strike getting closer to the launch site. "Come on, move it," Maya yelled as she helped a limping technician into the ship. On the eminence, Frex observed the bombardment with satisfaction. "Increase firepower," he ordered. "They won't get off the ground." A subordinate hesitated. "Captain, our sensors indicate their energy core is fluctuating. They might be planning something." Frex narrowed his eyes. "Then we hit them harder. They can't escape us." Inside the Exodus, the countdown reached its final minute. Maya stood at the controls, her hands trembling slightly as she activated the launch sequence. "Alina, release the EMP on my signal," she said. "Yes, Commander," Alina replied, her voice steady despite the tension. The ship rumbled as the engines roared to life, their power surging through the hull. Maya looked around at her crew, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. "This is it," she said. "No turning back now." The pulse of defiance. The air around the launch site crackled with raw energy as the EMP device in the UNS Exodus reached full charge. Maya Carter gripped the console tightly, her eyes flicking between the countdown timer and the sensors displaying the incoming Council fleet. The enemy warships were massive and impenetrable, a reminder of the galaxy's overwhelming power. "Alina," Maya said, her voice steady despite the chaos, "is the EMP ready?" "Fully charged," Alina replied. "Once we trigger it, the pulse will disable everything within a 100-mile radius, Council ships included. But we'll have about 30 seconds to get clear before our own systems start failing." Maya nodded. "That's all the time we need. Stand by." In orbit, Captain Threx of the Eminence stood on the command deck, watching the surface bombardment. The human vessel had begun to rise, its thrusters glowing like tiny stars. "They're launching," an officer reported. "Fools," Threx sneered. "Lock onto their trajectory and fire at will." The Eminence's plasma cannon swiveled into position, charging with deadly energy. A bolt of fire erupted from the flagship, streaking toward the Exodus. Inside the Exodus, alarms blared as the plasma shot closed in. "Impact in 3 seconds," Alina shouted. "Fire the EMP now," Maya yelled. The ship's core unleashed a blinding surge of electromagnetic energy. The pulse spread outward in a perfect sphere, enveloping the Exodus and the surrounding battlefield. The plasma bolt disintegrated mid-flight, its charge snuffed out by the EMP. In orbit, the Council fleet's systems flickered and died. The massive ships, once bristling with power, were now lifeless hulks drifting in the void. On the Eminence, Threx staggered as the lights dimmed and the hum of the engine ceased. "What happened?" he roared. "EMP blast," a technician stammered, frantically tapping at an unresponsive console. "All systems offline, sir." Threx's jaw tightened. The humans. They planned this. The Exodus surged upward, its engines burning brighter as the ship broke free from Earth's gravity. Inside, the crew erupted in cheers, but Maya held up a hand to silence them. "Don't celebrate yet," she said. "We're not out of this." She turned to Alina. "Status report." "EMP radius is expanding," Alina said. "Our systems are stable for now, but we'll lose power in 20 seconds if we don't clear it." "Push the engines to maximum," Maya ordered. "We need to get clear." Back in orbit, Krelix watched the scene unfold from his disabled scout ship. His crew stared in stunned silence as the Exodus streaked past the fleet, its thrusters blazing a defiant path into the stars. "They did it," one of his officers whispered. Krelix allowed himself a small smile. "Yes, they did. But the Council won't let this go unanswered." As the Exodus broke through the EMP's outer edge, the ship's systems stabilized. Maya let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We're clear," Alina confirmed. "Full power restored." The crew erupted in applause, but Maya remained focused. "Plot a course to the nearest uncharted sector," she said. "We need to stay ahead of them. This isn't over." On the eminence, power slowly returned to critical systems as backup generators kicked in. Threx's face was a mask of fury. "Re-establish communications with the fleet," he growled. "I want that human ship tracked and destroyed." His officer hesitated. "Captain, the EMP has disrupted our long-range sensors. It could take hours to recalibrate." Threx slammed a fist against the console. "Then use every scout ship, every drone, every resource we have. I don't care how long it takes. They won't escape us." Shadows in the void. The USS Exodus drifted silently through the vast emptiness of uncharted space. The initial euphoria of escape had faded, replaced by a tense vigilance that hung over the crew like a shroud. Every console, every sensor, every watchful eye scanned the void for signs of pursuit. Maya sat in the captain's chair, her gaze fixed on the holographic star map flickering before her. "Any signs of their fleet, Alina?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with tension. Alina shook her head, tapping at her console. "Nothing so far. If they're following us, they're keeping their distance, but that doesn't mean they're not out there." Back on the eminence, Captain Threx paced the command deck like a caged predator. His fleet's systems were slowly coming back online, but the damage from the EMP blast had left them vulnerable and humiliated. "Status report," he demanded. A technician answered nervously. "Sensors are operational again, but we've lost track of the human vessel. They've entered an uncharted sector. It'll take time to locate them." Threx's expression darkened. "Time we don't have. Deploy the scout ships. I want every corner of that sector searched. Those humans won't escape me." Aboard the Exodus, Maya's team was running diagnostics on the ship's systems. Despite their victory, the strain of the escape had taken its toll. "How are we holding up?" Maya asked the ship's engineer, a wiry man named Lucas. Lucas wiped his hands on a grease-streaked cloth. "Engines are stable, but we've got stress fractures in the hull. We can't take another hit like that without serious repairs." Maya nodded grimly. "Understood. Prioritize structural integrity and weapon systems. We might not get much of a break." As the ship moved deeper into the unknown, the tension among the crew grew. The uncharted sector was a labyrinth of drifting debris, rogue asteroids, and abandoned star systems. It was the perfect place to hide, and the perfect place for an ambush. Alina's console beeped suddenly, and she stiffened. "Commander, I'm picking up a faint signal." Maya leaned forward. "What kind of signal?" Alina frowned. "Hard to tell. It's intermittent, but it's not natural. Could be a ship. Council. Possibly, but it's weak. If it is, they're masking their presence." On the bridge of a cloaked scout ship trailing the Exodus, a Xenar operative monitored their prey. The human vessel was impressive, even in its battered state. The operative transmitted a brief report to Threx. "Target located. Awaiting orders." Back on the eminence, Threx smiled coldly. "Good. Maintain distance and relay their position. We'll close in once the fleet is ready." On the Exodus, Maya convened a meeting in the war room. Her senior officers gathered around the table, the holographic star map casting a pale glow over their faces. "We've detected a signal," Maya began. "It could be nothing, but my gut tells me it's the Council. They're tracking us." Alina nodded. "It's faint, but consistent. If they're out there, they're playing the long game." Lucas spoke up. "We can't outrun them forever. Sooner or later, we'll have to face them." Maya's jaw tightened. "Agreed. But we won't fight them on their terms. We'll find a way to even the odds." The crew worked tirelessly, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Maya ordered the deployment of decoy drones to confuse potential pursuers. At the same time, Lucas devised a plan to harness the energy from a nearby nebula, hoping to boost their systems for a short-term advantage. but the tension only grew as the signal drew closer. The Battle of the Dead End System. The UNS Exodus emerged from hyperspace into a desolate star system. The only celestial body was a dying red star, its faint glow illuminating a field of jagged asteroids and swirling debris. Maya Carter stood on the bridge, her jaw set as she stared at the holographic map. "They boxed us in," Elena said grimly. "This system has no natural escape routes. They knew we'd end up here." "That's exactly what they wanted," Maya replied, her voice calm despite the rising tension. "But if they think we're helpless, they're in for a surprise." In orbit around the star, Captain Threx's fleet uncloaked, their massive warships forming an unbreakable wall. From the flagship Eminence, Threx addressed his crew. "The humans are cornered," he declared. "Their defiance ends here. Prepare to annihilate them." The fleet powered up its weapons, their energy signatures lighting up the void. Back on the Exodus, Maya turned to her crew. "We've prepared for this," she said. "They think they have us outgunned, but they're underestimating what we're capable of. This isn't just about escape anymore. It's about sending a message." Helena nodded. "Decoy drones are ready. Lucas has boosted our shields with energy from the nebula. We might not win, but we'll make them bleed." "Good," Maya said. "Everyone to their stations. This is our stand." The Council fleet moved into position, their ships forming a deadly blockade. Plasma cannons charged and missile bays opened. On the Eminence, Threx gave the command. "Fire." The first volley of plasma bolts streaked toward the Exodus, but Maya's crew was ready. Elena activated the decoy drones, scattering them across the battlefield. The drones emitted false energy signatures, confusing the enemy targeting systems. Direct hit avoided. Elena shouted as the plasma blasts veered off course, striking empty space. "Good work," Maya said. "Now let's show them what humans can do." The Exodus fired back, launching a barrage of missiles toward the blockade. The missiles weren't powerful enough to destroy the massive Council ships, but they served another purpose, disrupting their formation. Lucas grinned as explosions erupted across the enemy line. "That'll slow them down." Maya's voice was sharp. "Not for long. Prepare for Phase 2. On the Eminence, Threx snarled as his fleet scrambled to regroup. "They're more resourceful than I expected," he admitted grudgingly. "But it won't save them. Order the frigates to flank them. Cut off any chance of retreat." The smaller Council ships moved into position, their weapons locking onto the Exodus. Inside the Exodus, Maya's heart raced as the enemy closed in. "Lucas, is the energy spike ready?" "Almost there," Lucas replied. "Just a few more seconds." "Make it quick," Maya said. "We're running out of time." As the Council ships moved in for the kill, Lucas activated the energy spike. The Exodus's hull glowed brightly as it released a massive burst of concentrated energy, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The shockwave disabled several enemy ships, their systems sparking and failing. The Council fleet faltered, giving the Exodus a precious window of opportunity. "Now's our chance," Maya shouted. Full speed ahead. The Exodus surged forward, its engines pushing to the limit. The battered ship weaved through the chaos, dodging debris and enemy fire. On the Eminence, Threx watched in disbelief as the human ship broke through the blockade. "Pursue them," he roared. "I want that ship destroyed." But his officers hesitated. "Sir, the fleet's systems are still recovering. We can't." Threx slammed his fist on the console. "I don't care. Follow them." The Exodus reached the edge of the system, where an unstable wormhole shimmered in the distance. "Commander, that wormhole is our only way out," Elena said. "But it's risky. We don't know where it leads." Maya's gaze was resolute. "We don't have a choice. Prepare for jump." As the Exodus approached the wormhole, the remaining Council ships closed in, their weapons charging for a final strike. "Brace yourselves," Maya shouted as the ship plunged into the wormhole. The Exodus disappeared into the swirling vortex just as the Council's weapons fired, their shots hitting empty space.